Introducing the remarkable archetype, the dangerous gentleman. With a demeanor that commands respect and a hint of potency, he embodies strength tempered by virtue. Though his capabilities could veer towards danger, he channels his power for noble causes, serving others and safeguarding those in need. Rooted in a profound love for both God and humanity, he navigates life with discipline and purpose. In his presence, one witnesses the harmonious blend of power and benevolence, a testament to the true essence of masculinity. Step into the world of the dangerous gentleman, where strength is wielded for righteousness, and discover a captivating embodiment of honor and valor.
Hello, and welcome to the Dangerous Gentleman podcast. Yes, that's me. I am the Dangerous Gentleman. This week, I want to talk about a lesson that I've learned over the years that came rushing back and hitting me full force in the face over the last few days. My general tendency is it takes a long time for me to make a decision and to decide on things and to make changes, but when I do, I get locked in on them, and then there's no other path for me. And I get it locked in my head, I get stuck, and that's the only way that it can happen. And then when it doesn't happen that way, I get super disappointed and I usually let it drag me down. Well, that happened over the course of this last week. I had something in my mind and I had made a decision of something that I wanted to do and the way that it was all going to work out for me. And then it didn't work out that way. And it wasn't anything that I even necessarily had any control over in the long run. Yeah, there's a lot of things I have control over and I like to keep those. I keep as many things in my hands as I possibly can, but this one kind of got taken out of my hands. And so, big disappointment. So first of all, first lesson is don't get things so locked in that you can only see one way out. There's only one good option for the way things could turn out. In the long run, the way this worked out, it could be really great for me. We'll have to see. Now there's some stuff in my hands that I can control, and now I know a little bit more about where I'm going and what my future is going to look like. So I got to stick it out just a little longer. Still may end up down that road, but I got to stick it out a little bit. But anyway, so that's not the main lesson. The main lesson is what happens to you? What do you tend to do when things don't work out the way you intend? For me, for most of my life, and I know I use that phrase a lot, there is the old me that used to respond a very predictable set of ways that were not good, that were not healthy, and that usually just drew me further and further down into despair and just further down a downward spiral. And so for most of my life, that's the way that I operated. And so when things didn't go the way I intended them, the way I got them locked in my brain, if they didn't go that way, I would resort to coping mechanisms, whether that's food, whether that's alcohol, whether that's wallowing in self-pity, going in my room and shutting the door, binging on whatever it is that my vice was at the moment, or multiple vices. And so I had that choice. I had that opportunity when this situation didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to. When it actually went, I had imagined in my mind, what is the worst way that this could possibly go? What is the worst way that this could turn out? And it pretty much went down that road. So my options are at that point, and trust me, and it wasn't just that it happened once. It was like a long, slow progression of increased stress and me trying to jump through hoops and me trying to make this happen, right? And so over the course of many days, I was tempted with the idea of going back to those old coping mechanisms. I really wanted to ditch my good diet. I really wanted to stay up late and watch TV and sleep in the morning. I wanted to blow all my habits. I wanted to blow all my good habits for all my bad ones, because I'm kind of an all or nothing, right? If I decide that I'm going to blow a habit, that I'm going to make a bad decision, it's going to be not just one bad decision. It's going to be all of the bad decisions all at the same time. And it's not just going to be once. It's going to be over multiple days or weeks. And it's going to be a very quick, long descent down into my old bad coping mechanisms. So I had that choice this week. Multiple times every night I'd go home and be like, ugh, what do I do tonight? Oh, I'm going to go get myself a cheeseburger. Or, oh, I'm going to go buy a pint of ice cream. Or, oh, I'm not setting my alarm for the morning. Or whatever it is, over and over and over. And it felt like that was the only way. It felt like that was the only thing that was going to bring me comfort and any kind of peace and satisfaction, was to indulge in those old coping mechanisms and those old bad habits that I have such a hard time and that I've worked so hard to overcome, to the point where I am not that person anymore. I had to fight. It was every single night, and I had to keep talking to people, and I had to keep reassuring other people. I had to keep verbalizing, hey, this is how I feel, but I'm not going to do that. This is how I feel, but I'm not going to go down that road. I'm going to choose this way instead of that way. I'm going to choose the path of discipline. And I did. I've been able to do that. Instead of stopping at Crumble Cookie or at the Mexican bakery that has the best donuts in town or whatever it is, buying that bag of chips or, God forbid, buying a beer or going to the weed store, right? Like, because if it would have been one, it would have been all of them. And I can't do that. I can't do even one. And so I just had to each and every single night, I had to make the choice. Am I going to go back to those old habits, or am I going to continue on with the new ones? And this is kind of my definition of discipline, right? Discipline isn't necessarily doing the thing, whatever it is. Discipline isn't necessarily getting up early or going to the gym or eating right. Discipline is doing that thing no matter what. Whether you feel like it or not, you're going to get up and go to the gym. Whether you feel like it or not, you're going to eat what you're supposed to eat. Whether you feel like it or not, you're still going to keep doing the thing. Whatever that discipline thing is for you, or multiple things. Making your bed, going to bed early, all of those things. The second you start to veer, when things get a little bit difficult and all of a sudden that stuff goes out the window, then really it's not really anything. It's just something you kind of did when you felt like it. And so you were doing it from a place of motivation. You were doing it from a place of selfishness. You were doing it from a place of like, it's still an unhealthy coping mechanism because you're doing it to be like, hey, look at me. Look how disciplined I am. Look, I'm not going to slip. But then when it gets hard, you do slip. And then everyone kind of pats you on the back and says, I'm sorry. You have every excuse in the book. Well, discipline for me is doing the hard thing and doing it no matter what. Even when I didn't feel good, even when I was exhausted and worn out from the stress and I was emotionally spent, even when things didn't go the way that I wanted them to, I still executed. And if I had slipped, I would have just been beating myself up and it wouldn't have helped. In the long run, it would not have helped. You know what did help? In the midst of all that stress, in the midst of dealing with all of that stuff that was happening, what helped me was getting up early and going to the gym and lifting heavy weights. Lift heavy shit. That's the way that I deal with my stress. Other people have other healthy ways. There's a lot of unhealthy ways, and my way of doing this is to go lift heavy at the gym, to sweat, to take it out on that piece of equipment, whatever it is. And so I've done that the last several mornings. I couldn't give you an exact, but at least most every day this week. So 4 days, and even over the weekend to a certain extent. Every day I got up and executed. Every day I used that dark energy, that dark side energy, that negative energy to fuel my workouts, to fuel my daily disciplines, to fuel my habits. So rather than allowing that darkness, that disappointment to lead me down a road of despair and just giving up all of that stuff, I allowed it to fuel me, to keep pushing me forward, to keep doing the next right thing. Because if I had allowed it to veer me off, then I am giving that thing all that power. I'm giving that thing all the power. And I'm saying that this thing that I had no control over is more powerful and more important than what is inside of me to make the right decision. And I realized it's not that powerful, right? And perhaps one day I'll get into the specifics of what it was this week that led me down this road. But if those things cause you to make bad decisions, to give up on your discipline, or to make bad or unhealthy choices, then those things are more powerful than you. The thing is that they're not more powerful than you. You are stronger than a bag of chips. You are stronger than a snooze button. You are stronger than a cheat meal. So don't let those things win. So when you're facing disappointment, when you're facing difficulties, when something isn't going your way, or when it's going, when you're feeling the consequences of your actions, that's not the time to let that thing win. That's the time to exercise that discipline. That's the time to take it into another gear. Set your alarm clock even earlier. Be even more strict with what you're eating. Be more strict. Do more of that thing. That is what is ultimately going to get you through. I've been very much more disciplined over the course of the last several years, but I've got the last 6 months where I've really taken on several big areas in my life, and I have victory over them. Am I perfect? No, but I have 6 months of a track record of keeping that thing under my boot where I'm winning. And this disappointment, the way this thing turned out, it's not worth giving up 6 months of work. It's not worth giving up years of training and increased improvement in daily habits. It's not worth it. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep executing. I'm going to keep doing the things that work. I'm going to follow the plan. And if I keep following the plan, even this disappointment will not win. And something better will come down the road. If I keep executing, if I keep doing what I need to do, no matter what. Those 3 words, no matter what, whether you feel like it or not. When it gets tough, when you feel like don't doing it, yeah, this is kind of cliche. When you don't feel like doing it and you do it, that's where the real power comes. But I'm telling you that regardless of however many times you hear that, it is not any less true. It is still just as true. So when you're facing those difficult things, when it seems like it's too hard, when you're ready to throw in the towel, that's not the time to throw in the towel. That's the time to pick up that towel, wipe the sweat off your brow, and get in another set. Don't throw in the towel. Pick it up, wipe the sweat off, and keep going. One more little thing. One of my favorite pieces of advice, and I don't remember if someone told me this or if it popped into my head one day. Sometimes the most holy thing you can do, sometimes the best decision you can make is to go to bed. And so these last several nights where I've been sitting there and I'm stressing and I'm fighting the temptations and I just can't get it out of my head, but I'm sitting there and I'm exhausted. The best decision for me to make was to just turn off all the lights, set my alarm, and go to bed. Because when you're asleep, you're recharging and you can't eat when you're asleep. Maybe you're one of those weird people who can sleep eat, but I am not, right? So when I go to bed, I'm not eating. When I go to bed, I'm not facing those temptations. My eyes are closed and I'm asleep. So that's what I'm encouraging you this week. My encouragement for this week is when you are dealing with a difficulty, whether it's self-induced or it's outside of your control, that's not the time to give in. That's not the time to fall back into those old habits because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. That is the time to double down. And I guarantee you, it may be difficult in the moment, but in the long run, you won't regret it. You will regret making those other decisions. You will regret going back to those old habits. What you won't regret is continuing to execute. What you won't regret is continuing on that path of discipline that you've been on. That's where my head has been this week. That's where my heart has been this week. And so I just wanted to share that with you because it's been a powerful lesson to me that I've learned over the course of the last few years. And so take that to the bank, invest it, and see what you can get in return. I'll talk to you later. So if you like this content, please give it a rating, a review, and share it with your friends. Also, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about me and what I'm all about and what I can maybe do for you, check out my website at thedangerousgentleman.org. That's thedangerousgentleman.org. Thank you for listening.